It is going to be an absolute ride today. Seck on your left, Martell on your right. I mean, this is pretty standard legacy stuff here. You've got a combo deck and a deck that really beats up on combos. We saw Turtenwald actually defeat Sneak and Show in the finals, defeating Jared Betcher. As Martell's going to start off with a Ponder. And a nice volcanic island. These two are very good friends. Ben lives in San Francisco. Tom lives south of that in San Jose.
Yep.
They eat dinners, play Magic all the time. They've known each other for a very long time, so should be a very entertaining and fun match.
Ben Seck is also a former coworker of mine at Upper Deck many years ago, before moving on to greener pastures at Storm 8. He is also, history lesson for those of you not aware of these things, the only ever African Grand Prix champion
Ah, yes, he won the GP in South Africa, right?
in Cape Town.
Okay.
Yes.
The one and only. Might be the only one ever.
Yes.
Unless Magic is growing at a ridiculous rate, so we could see a return trip to Cape Town. I'll tell you right now, if there's another Grand Prix in Cape Town, I'm going.
Yep.
I've never been there. I don't know if I'm ever going to be there or ever have a reason to go there. As a duress is going to lead things off here for Seck. See, Martell's got at least a Forcible in his hand. And he's going to show it. He's got two Brainstorms, a Forcible, a Lightning Bolt, and and a Wasteland. Volcanic Island in play, of course.
So Ad Nauseam is actually, in my opinion, reasonably well suited to beat these kind of decks in game one. The hand disruption and the fast kill that Ad Nauseam has access to means that it's able to pick apart the one Force of Will, the one Spell Pierce that a lot of these decks have, and go off very quickly. You need a mixture of disruption and a fast clock. And Wasteland also gives Martell some action here as well.
Martell, I think, has another Wasteland in his hand. And he takes care of Ben's Underground Sea with the original Wasteland. Duress took a Brainstorm, and now Ben is going to cast a Ponder off of my favorite island. Now, I don't play islands very often, but if I did, or excuse me, a Preordain, I apologize. But if I did, I would use that one.
The Euro Venice Island?
Yeah,
it's a nice choice.
One by a wide margin. Part of the fun of Legacy is when you just get to see the sweet decks. I know when I was in DC, I like to actually just walk around the room because there are people who just come out just particularly for that GP, and they get to show off their bling.
Yeah, no, definitely. People are very passionate about their one Legacy deck.
Yeah.
So people will invest a lot of effort and time and money getting the coolest looking cards they can for it.
Martell plays his Wasteland, considered casting a Brainstorm, but opted not to. He drew a True Name Nemesis for the turn, a card that we are going to see a healthy amount of, I'm sure, today, as Seck is going to cast another Preordain.
Just trying to build up a sufficient density of rituals to be able to either win through Past in Flame or through Ad Nauseam.
Yeah, he's sculpting. So just give me this one. Knows that he needs to try to play around Wasteland accordingly. So he's going to sacrifice Polluted Delta. We'll see what lands he's going to go get. Likely it'd be a basic. Just be a swamp or an island is the decision he needs to make.
I think that Ad Nauseam Storm has one of the best Game 1 matchups in the field across the board. Even the decks that are disruptive, in my mind, aren't disruptive enough. The problem comes in the post-board games where you can actually change the configuration of your deck very much because you need to have a density of spells to go off.
Sure.
And most of your opponents will be bringing in, 4 to 6 relevant cards.
All right, so let's see what else is going to happen on this particular turn. I don't know if we're going to see another discard spell or what have you. Brainstorm, okay, for Martell.
Since Ben is aware of the Brainstorms in Tom's hand, even in the event that Ben did have a duress, he probably wants to wait until Tom casts at least one Brainstorm to then be able to potentially hit something relevant.
Yeah.
As long as Tom has Brainstorms in his hand to protect his best cards, it's not that valuable for Ben to be casting his duresses.
All right, so that's an end of turn Brainstorm too, which is a little unfamiliar territory. You don't see that a ton.
Yeah, I think Tom might have been searching for a third land
Yeah.
to allow him to play his True Name Nemesis that turn.
Yeah, the issue here that we see with the Delver decks is when they don't have a clock and, Dungeon Centrals is able to just set up and, ponder a bunch of all that stuff, it's very hard for the Delver decks to win. When they do start off with a Delver, though, we're looking at a wildly different game.
Yeah, cards like Daze and Wasteland, the shorter you make the game, the more powerful they are. So it's really important to have a clock on top of your disruption.
So you see double Force of Will, Daze, Brainstorm, and Trinity Nemesis. So plenty of blue cards, a couple copies of Force of Will, and you see the old Gataxian Probe. The most important card here for Martell is probably the Brainstorm because he can get a little crafty if a discard spell comes,
Yeah.
about how he wants to, move things around, especially if one of those discard spells is a Cabal Therapy.
Yes.
Seck will draw a card from Gataxian Probe. Looks to be a polluted Delta here.
And for all the disruption that, Tom has, Ben's got to be pretty happy with his pacing of the game here.
This is a duress, so maybe we'll see exactly what Tom wants to do. Does he want to Brainstorm and hide Force of Wills? Does he want to let this one resolve? If he does, was he comfortable letting Ben take? It's a little game inside the game.
Yeah, the instinct here, of course, is just to brainstorm and hide the 2 Force of Wills. But if he does that, Tom just might die this turn. I think this is a wise play of Tom of just allowing it to resolve and not exposing himself to potentially just getting killed on the spot by both of the Force of Wills leaving his hand.
And now a Ponder. So Storm count up to 3. Don't know if Ben's going to try to go off this turn.
It's awfully ambitious in the face of these 2 Force of Wills.
Yeah. They are keeping track of Storm with that die at the top of the screen. 2 and 3. So Seck will take a look at 2 Dark Rituals and a Gataxian Probe. And a Shuffle. So he does not like what he sees.
It's unclear. We haven't had a good look at Ben's hand, but it's unclear what exactly he's looking for at this point.
Yeah.
Like, what's the missing piece of the puzzle?
So we'll see. You see he's got a Brainstorm in his hand. He's got a Gemstone Mine. I think he has a Cabal Ritual hanging out, and I think we're at the threshold point now that'll generate a bunch of mana. And pass the turn back. So Storm die gone. Martell draws Lightning Bolt, passes immediately, as he knew what the top card of his deck was going to be. So Seck is going to take a draw step here. He draws another Ponder. I don't want to say it's impossible for Martell to win at this point, but it's going to be very, very hard.
Yeah, it's easy to say, if you haven't watched much of this deck in action, it's easy to say, Tom's got all these Force of Wills, how does he lose? But given enough time, the Tendrils deck can really overpower most pieces of disruption that a deck can generate.
And if you've ever watched Tendrils in action before, or played against Tendrils, I think playing is the more important thing. Is when they start going off and start casting rituals, you're always kind of left guessing on which card to actually counter. Especially if you don't know what their hand is, you're very uncomfortable when they go Dark Ritual. Am I supposed to counter the first ritual? What exactly am I supposed to do on the turn when they actually start moving and grooving? What am I supposed to counter? And it's actually pretty hard to figure out as another duress is going to get fired Martell's way. And again, Seck knows all but one card, which is Lightning Bolt. He knows that there are 2 Force of Wills, a Trinity Nemesis, and a Daze in the hand. So 1 force is gone. So now he only needs to worry about 1 hard counter. It is nice to have that information about Lightning Bolt in case he's on an ad nauseum plan.
Now, the information that Duresses and Gataxian Pros give this deck too is also it's not often brought up, but it's also a huge part of the advantage of playing this deck.
Wasteland going to come in here. It's going to target Ben's Gemstone Mine. He's going to cast a Brainstorm response, and that's going to resolve.
Finds a Duress, a Lion's Eye Diamond, and an Infernal Tutor. I have to imagine that's very close to the perfect 3 cards for him to find at this point.
Agreed. He's got his discard spell to take care of the Force Will. He's got plenty of mana to beat a Daze, and he has the necessary card in Infernal Tutor to actually be able to go off.
Yes.
That'll find you a Past in Flames or at Ad Nauseam itself. And then, the fireworks start there. And since he knows the contents of Martell's hand, just like we do here in the booth and you guys do at home, there's really no coming back from that. Delta sacrifice here from Seck, make it a perfect Brainstorm. Again, likely going to search out a basic land, which he has 2 islands and 1 swamp. Convenient that he'll be operating here with 3 basics.
And for those of you unfamiliar with for watching Ad Nauseam Tendrils for the first time, the point of this deck is to cast an Infernal Tutor with a lot of mana floating and no cards in hand. This allows the deck to search for either Past in Flames to do this all again, or to find Ad Nauseam to draw a bunch of cards, and eventually the kill is Tendrils of Agony after playing a bunch of spells in 1 turn.
Oh, Patrick, I was wondering, on Twitter, Potsidopoulos has deemed you Batman.
Oh, because of my Christian Bale gruff
Yes,
voice
yeah.
right
So
now.
if you had any impersonations, or if you want to beat up Bane or anything, you can let that be known.
Not right now.
Okay.
Cabal therapy.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna name Force of Will and take Force of Will. Pass the turn back. So Bennett just needs one. Basically, it feels like Ben needs one more turn to get going here. He's got the LED in his hand. Take a draw step. This is a preordain.
I think Seck has all the pieces right now, as he can also cast Cabal Ritual. You can see Seck grabbing the die here. Pretty strong implication. He feels like he's going to be trying to go off this turn.
Yeah, Tom was the one grabbing the die before. Now he's gonna cast Ball Ritual. Threshold engaged. That's gonna resolve. That'll be spell number 2. Got 5 black mana floating currently.
So 5 black in the pool. Another trick that this deck has access to, again, if you're watching for the first time, you can cast Infernal Tutor, and in response to your own Infernal Tutor, sacrifice Lion's Eye Diamond. This gives you an empty hand for Hellbent and 3 additional mana.
So let's see what Ben wants to do this turn. Because I think he just wants to lead off with Duress. Because he has a Duress in his hand, I believe, and when we see the Infernal Tutor, there's the Duress that he's thumbed forward. The other card, I believe, is a mystery at this point. Just want to confirm that he has Passive Flames in his deck. Most versions do have it, but take a look here.
He showed a Volcanic as he was going through his deck, so.
Yeah, he's got the one Passive
Yeah.
Flames. Okay. Pretty stock at this point in the Ad Nauseam Tendrils deck, but you never know. He's going to cast, Infernal Tutor. Hold priority?
Yeah. I would assume so, as his hand is not a lot of good stuff to copy right now.
I think what his thought process is because here he could have duressed him first, and he's opting not to.
I think the issue there is, let's say that Ben duresses him because he thinks that Force of Will might be in Tom's hand.
Mm-hmm.
Tom then dazes it because he has that daze, and is Ben then short on mana that he needs to go off if Tom has nothing in his hand?
Sure.
It may be worth risking Tom having drawn the 4th Force of Will to make sure you have enough mana to do everything that you need to do.
Sure. Kind of a disaster if he draws a card like Spell Snare.
Yes.
Taking care of the Infernal
No, there's
Tutor.
definitely some draws that Tom has there that are risky, but having to pay mana for the days already kind of prices you in to possibly being short on mana.
So he's going to go get Ad Nauseam. Right now, Ben has 6 black mana floating. You've got Spell 3 was the Infernal Tutor, so Spell 4 would be the Ad Nauseam. And then he'll leave him with 1 black mana floating. He has not played a land yet for his turn. And he gets to do some things here. Now, I'm wondering if this was easier than just going to get past In Flames. But he also, to be fair, he doesn't have very many rituals in his graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
So, normally when you see the Passive Flames kill, they just re-ritual back up, cast Infernal Tutor again, and then just go get Tendrils and kill you. But he only has cast 1 ritual this game.
Right, he's catching a lot of duresses and cantrips. So
Yeah.
He doesn't have a great graveyard for going off.
All right, you see Tom with a big smile, I guess hoping for the old brick here. And they're getting the spell count all set up. So this is spell number 4. Turn him and burn him.
15, 14, 12, 11, 10, 9. Remember, there's that bolt in that hand, too.
Mm-hmm. 7. That should be all he needs now, I think.
Yeah, I would imagine with the lines, it's going to...
Interesting. Because he hasn't played a land yet, and Gemstone lets him play a land. I would stop there.
Well, that puts him on 3.
Oh, no.
And Tom shows the bolt, and Ben.
Oh, my God. I don't think he needed to go past that Infernal Tutor.
No, I think that Infernal Tutor was good enough. Someone stuck his hand in the cookie.
This is mighty awkward. I think Seck is conceding the game. Oh, my goodness.
Someone stuck their hand in the cookie jar one too many times.
Yes, they did. Right there from Martell. Daggering Seck. Oh, my goodness. So Tom Martell wins game number 1 after doing Actual nothing.
He didn't cast any spells. He cast some brainstorms.
Yeah, he did actual nothing. And Seck kills himself with ad nauseum tendrils.
It's funny when I was kind of floating around while Ben and Martell and some others were sitting around sleeving the deck, and Ben's, I was commenting on how this deck was really hard to play, and Ben's like, it seems really easy. And I'm like, well, it's really easy until there's an opponent. When you're goldfishing the deck, it's very simple, but when you're playing against Disruption, it suddenly becomes very challenging. Anyhow, onto the sideboard, I got Tom's list in front of me. He has a lot of action to bring in this matchup. He has 4 Meddling Mages, 3 Red Blasts, 2 Red Blasts, and 1 Pyroblast. He can bring in a 4th copy of Spell Pierce, a Sword and Feast and Famine to replace the Batterskull or Umezawa's Jit, and a Gravedigger's Cage if he wants to shut off the Pass and Flames kill as well. So quite a lot of action here.
Take a look at Seck's sideboard. He's got 2 Carpet of Flowers, 2 Abrupt Decay, 2 Chain of Vapor, 2 Slaughter Pack, a Surgical Extraction, a Cabal Therapy, a Massacre, a Tropical Island, and 3 copies of Anted Swarm. So he's got a lot of green cards in his sideboard. Of them, I think the most important one here is Carpet of Flowers, generating a lot of mana, not having to rely on rituals to resolve all that good stuff. So Anted Swarm is okay, but you're looking at a deck that does have access to Lightning Bolt and Swords of Plowshares, and I imagine that Martell will likely leave in Lightning Bolt here to kind of speed up the clock a little bit, also to kind of hedge against Anted Swarms after sideboard. Other than that, the bounce effects are okay. Abrupt Decay, is okay. Additional Cabal Therapy is all right as well, but I think Carpet of Flowers and the Tropical Island are the easy cards to sideboard here in.
Yeah, it's really critical for, most combo decks in Legacy, Storm, Sneak and Show, Belcher, what have you, to win the first game, because the post-board games invariably get harder as you have very little wiggle room to cut out the core of your deck. And your opponent often, in Martell's case, he has 4 Meddling Mages, 3 Red Blasts, and then some ancillary hate cards as well. So losing that game 1 is really rough for Ben here.
And if you guys are just joining us, of course, Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan starts the Games Open Series here in Oakland, California. We've crowned our Standard Open champion, of course, Joe Lissette.
Well-deserved.
Blue-white control. Absolutely agree with you there. We know he is going to be playing Miracles today in Legacy. We'll find out what his record is as we do go over the course of the day. But for your tweets at SCG Live, hashtag SCGOAK. We'll be having a lot of fun here this weekend. Great crowd of players. We've got just 8 rounds today, however.
We were 1 player short of a 9th round, I believe.
Yes, 1 player short of a 9th round. So if you're one of the players who are playing today, you're probably pretty happy.
Yep.
You get to shave an hour off your day, and it's a little bit less difficult to make top 8.
Yep.
Yeah, so it'll be a fun day here. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm curious as to Drew Levin's whereabouts.
As am I. He said he missed his BART train on over, but that doesn't mean he didn't fly over.
Yeah, the thing is that there's another BART train that runs 10 minutes later or whatever, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what missing the BART train really means, but that's fine. I hope you're okay wherever you're at.
Yeah, I think he's got some friends in the area.
Yeah.
Maybe visiting them, but we'd love to see Drew, the Legacy Guru, stop on by here. See what he has to offer. Just see Martell and Seck having a good laugh here after game number 1. See if Ben can put together the necessary pieces to win game number 2.
Based on the cards that he was asking for, I suspect Drew was trying to reanimate.
I was told he was trying to Shardless Bug.
Okay,
but,
sure. Okay.
I think he said he wanted to play that as his last tournament, since it's going to be his last tournament for a little while.
Why would you play that deck as your last tournament? Wouldn't you just Belcher?
Grind him down, baby.
Or Dredge. Or just, one of the Maniac decks.
Yeah, oops, all spells.
Yep.
That's a good way to go. I've had a lot of fun playing against that deck online, so I've died on turn 1 a lot.
Sure.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, I take a Maniac approach. That's fun.
I imagine those decks are better online because Force of Will is so cost prohibitive.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, but it's interesting because, like, the people who play Legacy online, however, do have, like, they do, like, shell out for Force of Will. So
for sure,
they can actually play.
For sure.
So it's kind of interesting to see that in action. But hopefully the Legacy metagame on Magic Online will really become a little more robust, because it's always fun to play Legacy whenever you get the opportunity. And hey, we got Vintage coming to Magic Online soon.
Yep.
That's pretty exciting.
I'm glad those are finally being added to Magic Online. I think
Same.
it'll be a lot of fun for players to have a Vintage deck. The cost of the physical cards is just so prohibitive that it's not realistic for most people to shell out for decks. But online, the cost will probably be significantly lower and people can start dabbling in the format. And who knows, maybe, some percentage of people who get to sample the format really enjoy it and actually go out of their way to acquire cards to play in physical tournaments as well.
Yeah, from everything I've seen, Vintage looks like an absolute blast to play. The people who do play it, they swear by it. They absolutely love it. So
Well, that is true of every endeavor in life.
I suppose that's true.
The people who like it swear by it.
That's true. You make a very compelling argument, as usual. All right, Seck is going to start off with a polluted Delta. He's going to sacrifice that. Martell stifles?
There are no stifles.
Okay, I didn't think so because it doesn't seem like a kind of card that Turtenwald would play. I hadn't seen Owen's list for a couple of weeks here, so.
No, I like this list a lot. It's nothing but the goods. Nothing situational really, except for I guess Spell Pierce kind of. A bunch of individually powerful cards. Really cohesive. I like the construction of this deck a lot.
It is very straightforward in the fact that it has just like a lot of 4s, a couple 3s, and then 2 pieces of equipment. Lands, 20 of them, 4 Wastelands, fetches, and just kind of doing it.
Yep.
No muss, no fuss, as you do find a lot of that in Legacy decks. Ponder to start the show here. As you see Martell's hand, he's got a Red Elemental Blast. He's got a Delver Secrets over there as well, so he's got a hand that can provide some pressure, as Seck is going to shuffle with the Ponder.
I think Martell just picked up and looked through his sideboard, and I believe the Grafdigger's Cage was still there, so it doesn't look like he brought that in.
Okay. See, Stoneforge Mystic does have a Rest in Peace in his hand right now, too, does Martell. He's going to take a draw step here. He drew us a Meddling Mage. He's going to play Delver of Secrets, and he's going to get the pressure started right away. Seck draws his card. You see that is a Duress there. He's going to cast a Preordain. That could get dazed. That might be worth dazing.
Yeah, Seck is without I suspect he is without a second land here.
So Daze is going to take care, or at least attempt to take care of that Preordain. Daze resolves. Now try to get Taxing Probe, he will. So now here's the grip. We got a Rest in Peace, we got a Stoneforge Mystic, a Red Elemental Blast, a True Name Nemesis, a Meddling Mage, and a Volcanic Island. So Martell only has 1 land. He doesn't have a white source of mana either, so.
Both players on speculative keeps.
Yeah, they really are. They really, really are. But hey, these Legacy decks, they do not have very many lands. I mean, take a look at Seck's list. 2, 4, 5, 9, 12, 15, and Martell's 20. Martell take a draw step. There is a Tundra.
Perfect draw.
Indeed. Doesn't flip the Delver of Secrets, but as far as everything else is concerned, really, really good draw there for Tom. Take a draw step here for Seck. He finds his Antid Swarm.
Yeah, another Xantid Swarm.
And he doesn't really want to cast a Brainstorm in this situation, so he doesn't. Ponder is going to allow Delver of Secrets to flip into Insectile Aberration. Ponder goes to the Grip. And now Martell can really, really start to dig in now. He can decide exactly how he wants this game to go. He can Ponder and leave up Red Elemental Blast. He can cast Rest in Peace right now. He can just go cast Stoneforge Mystic and go get the old Batterskull and get to work that way.
Yeah, a lot of angles for him, for sure. Tom debating if he wants to play the Meddling Mage here, I believe, or hold up Red Elemental Blast. Possibly add Stoneforge Mystic and go get a sword. Nuke Seck's Graveyard with Rest in Peace. A lot of options.
Yeah, they're all good. I mean, you put Rest in Peace in play, that's gonna shut off the old Passive Flames kill, and when you shut off the Passive Flames kill, when you're being pressured by Delver, it makes the ad nauseam kill very, very unlikely. You can even say now that he can just play Rest in Peace and then follow up naming Meddling Mage on ad nauseum, and that might just be lights out, you know. And there is Chris Pakula, a Brainstorming response. So let's see what Seck is able to find here. See a hand, a bunch of his Antid Swarms and stuff like that. He's definitely going to need some help now because he is under the gun. And we're looking at a 3-turn clock right now. Lightning Bolt makes it even worse. There's a Brainstorm up. I believe that was it was either Ponder or Preordain and then a Lotus Petal. So not a land, and certainly not a fetch land. It's not going to be a perfect Brainstorm.
Yeah. And, obviously, Seck's shortage of mana is causing problems all over the place.
We'll get confirmation on what Meddling Mage is naming just as soon as Tom decides what he wants to pick, as there's a bevy of choices here. I think in this situation, because he has a red elemental blast in his hand and he has rest in peace. I mean, I think it's either ad nauseum or tendrils itself. Do you care for either one of those?
Um, it's really hard to justify. Maybe that's correct. I think with Seck stuck on 1 mana, I would probably just want to be naming some sort of cantrip. You don't know if Seck has access to Echoing Truth or some other card that allows him to get out of the Meddling Mage. So I think it's hard to just assume that you lock him out by setting this on ad nauseum.
Okay. He goes with Inferno Tutor, which is certainly a good name as well. You see this Antiswarm come off the top here for Seck.
Infernal Tutor sort of splits the difference, right? Like,
Sure.
it also likely locks him out of winning the game if the recipe sticks, while also not being so all in on the Meddling Mage.
Prudent puts 2 cards to the bottom. Lion's Eye Diamond is the draw here for Seck. He's got a Lotus Petal that he's going to cast and resolve. The Lotus Petal is kind of a combo with Infernal Tutor, which is currently shut off. You see an Infernal Tutor currently in Seck's hand that he cannot cast. So Seck passes the turn back. Martell quickly untaps, takes a draw step. There's a Daze, which is actually quite relevant in this situation.
Yep.
Because now at this point, he's able to start by attacking, put Seck down to 8. And now he can ponder with the Tundra, leave up Red Elemental Blast, and have Daze access, which is a pretty gosh darn good turn. So that's where he's going to start. A Ponder by the Pro Tour Gatecrash champion. And a quick shuffle.
Yeah, I think at this point, Tom is just looking for basically just Force of Will, perhaps an additional Daze.
Mm-hmm. Just another permission spell.
Lightning Bolt would be good here, as it means that his creatures are lethal next turn.
And there's a cut. Take a draw. What do we find? Delver. Delver's actually not bad here because he can play Delver, and then if it does slip, it's lethal. But I think I'd probably just want to leave a Red Blast.
Yeah, and Tom feels the same way.
Seck will take a draw step. Dark Ritual. So let's see if he can put anything together here. I think he's going to start with a cantrip.
And I think that's going to be good enough for Tom to Red Blast.
Yeah, and I think it's worth Red Blasting. I mean, what else are you really going to Red Blast in this matchup, right? I guess is the thought process. Cantrips are certainly good. Martell take a draw. There's a Brainstorm. Attack Seck down to 3. And so if he ever does find that Lightning Bolt, he could try to find the Lightning Bolt off the Brainstorm. I'm not sure if he needs to right now, but he could try to get it over with. But again, he does have a pretty nice handful of permission right now.
I think he's just going to go with Rest in Peace with Daze back up.
Sure.
And with Seck still on the 1 land, it's really hard to imagine that he's going to be able to go off in the face of this.
Yeah, I think it'd be very, very difficult now. So Seck is going to untap that Lone Island and take a draw step, and we'll see what he can find.
Seck has found Polluted, just a concession. I'm going to try.
He's found an empty, a hand that's not going to get the job done. He's going to concede the game. So Tom Martell is going to win this match 2-0 over Ben Seck. Blue, White, Red Delver, the deck that did win Grand Prix Washington, D.C. in the hands of Owen Turtwald, defeats Ad Nauseam and Tendrils. Ben Seck picks up his second loss on the weekend, and Martell is still top 8 eligible.
Yes.
Which is pretty important for him, obviously, as he says he does want to top 8 one of these things pretty badly. And, you know, he loves playing some Legacy, man.
Does he not have an open top 8 yet?
I do not believe he does.
That is crazy.
He hasn't gotten to play in very many of them, to be fair, you know, with his hectic work schedule. I mean, he can barely go to Grand Prix that often at this point. You know, he's always able to make time for the Pro Tours, but he's not able to really travel all that much. So, winner, chicken dinner.
Yeah, so a card that, you know, didn't really come up in either one of those games, but